If you're anywhere between the levels of 35 to 40 in Zenless Zone Zero, I highly hope that you have been spending your energy on farming disk drives, because that's what I've done, and now I have over 180 disk drives to show for it. And in doing so, I recorded every single run that I did and tracked what I got in order to show you what to expect when it comes to farming these disks. Firstly, why am I telling you to farm disks from level 35 to 40? Well, you only unlock the routine cleanups from Roland over here, which is how you farm these disk drives, at level 35. And you may have seen some other videos about this, but the TLDR is that the material farming stages available to you from levels 30 to 40 on average give worse rewards compared to the rewards from level 40 and up. As you can see here, the percentage difference is about just over 10% when you look at the basic materials, so XP and Denny's, and then for the actual promotion materials, so the agent promotion materials, the engine promotion materials, and the skill mats, there is a big jump because now you have the possibility of getting those specialized or purple materials. I mean, from experience, you basically never get them anyway, but I mean, hey, there's a small chance, so you may as well go for it. Now, to be fair, I am not your father. You don't have to listen to me. I'm just going to show you the results, and you can come to your own conclusions. But theoretically, if you were to spend your time pre-farming character materials all the way up to level 40, you aren't really given many free disk drives along the way, so you're gonna have to farm these at some point. So why not do it during this period where your character growth mats are less efficient? Now, on to the results. I spent every single energy I had on nothing but routine cleanups from level 35 to 40. Now, there were other sources of EXP from commissions, events, and dailies and stuff like that, but in total, I was able to do 41 runs in total. This resulted in a total of 183 disk drives of either A rank or S rank quality, as well as 90 purple XP mats, 335 blue XP mats, and 138,375 Denny's. First, let's talk about how many S ranks I got. Out of the 41 runs I did, I almost always received at least one S rank drive per run. There was one single run where I didn't get any, but I think maybe I just misrecorded this. Otherwise, every single run I did had at least one S rank drive, whereas in 19 of these runs, I received 2 S rank drives. So it's almost basically a 50-50 chance on whether you get 1 or 2 S ranks, or in other words, you get about 3 S rank drives every 2 runs that you do, roughly speaking, of course. I did try to get a good spread of each stage, so I did a minimum of 4 per stage and a maximum of 8. This is of course based on what I actually needed at the time. And then what I did was I also tallied up how many I got from each set to see if there was any bias. Because I don't know about you guys, but it's almost like the game knows that all I want is the anomaly set, so it purposefully gives me nothing but the ice damage set instead. But here though, you can see that for the most part, the spread between the two sets were fairly even. I was getting the same amounts for each set, and even similar amounts of S ranks for each set. It was only in the final 2 stages, so Madman and Follower, as well as Monster and Weirdo stages, where in one scenario, I got slightly more S ranks for one set than the other, while in another stage, I also received a lot more of one set than the other. But otherwise, for the most part, for the other 4 stages, it was fairly split evenly, 50-50, both A ranks and S ranks. So, out of those 183 discs though, how many of them were S ranks? There were 59 S rank discs and 124 A rank discs. So it is essentially a roughly 32% chance of getting an S rank. But just because something is an S rank doesn't mean that it is great, because S ranks can also roll with either 3 or 4 substats. So of those 59, how many of them were actually able to get 4 substats? Well, I recorded that as well. 42 of these 59 S ranks had 3 substats, and 17 out of the 59 had 4 substats. So it is a roughly 28% split of 4 substats versus 3 substats. What this means is that when you combine this, so when you combine the probability of getting an S rank and then the probability of it being 4 substats, the chances of you getting a 4 substat S rank disc is around 9%. Oh, and also I'd like to stop here and say that if you are enjoying this video, please do consider liking, subscribing, and maybe leaving a comment about what you like or didn't like. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, for now though, let's take a break from the discs themselves and talk about the EXP that we got, because you're going to need to power up these disk drives to make them useful. Now, each blue mat gives 500 XP, while each purple mat gives 2000 XP. So taking our total of 90 purples and 335 blues, we get a total amount of XP of 347,500 XP. Now, in order to max out a disk drive from 0 to 15, you need 48,000 EXP. Meaning that if you were to use all of the XP that you acquire from these runs to level up your discs, you can get about 7 S-rank discs maxed out. Which I know does not seem like a lot, but I, and I'm assuming you as well watching this, will also have accumulated a lot of disk drive XP from other various sources as you play the game and as you get up to this level 40 point. So for me, I actually already had a lot of XP saved up. So I will show you what my disk drive situation looks like here. These are my S ranks. And as you can see, I've got definitely more than 7 leveled up, right? I've got 10 at level 15, another one at level 9, another one at level 4, and I still have a lot more XP left over. I've got about 40 per tier left over for XP. So you can definitely do a lot more than 7 maxed out disk drives. Now though, moving on to the fun stuff. Graphs. Who doesn't like a good graph? Looking at the distribution of the discs themselves, they can be in one of 6 positions, and this determines their main stat. Positions 1, 2, and 3 are fixed to be flat HP, flat attack, and flat defense respectively. However, positions 4, 5, and 6 can have a range of possibilities. Firstly though, let's look at the distribution of the disc positions. And as you can see here, it looks like no position is weighted more than the others, and that they're an all equal drop rate, which might be kind of bad actually, in the sense of ideally I would prefer that the random stat rolls drop more often, since you know it's more likely that you'll be spending time fishing for that perfect ideal main stat. But on the bright side, at least in this game we only have to worry about 3 of these equipment pieces having random stats, as opposed to certain other MiHoYo games. Speaking of the random main stats though, let's take a look at the distributions of these too, shall we? For position 4, I tallied up the main stats of all of the A and S ranks that I got. And again, in position 4, we can have either HP percent, attack percent, defense percent, crit rate percent, crit damage percent, or flat anomaly proficiency. Now, aside from defense appearing ever so slightly more than the rest, and crit rate also appearing ever so slightly less, it does appear that the position 4's main stat is fairly evenly split amongst the 6 different possibilities here. So nothing too remarkable about that. Moving on to the infamous slot 5, however. I say infamous because aside from HP, attack, defense, and penetration, we also have elemental damage. And I'm very sorry to say that, like other games, getting the correct element damage main stat is again layered steps of RNG. As you can see here, this looks evenly split when you consider that I have grouped up all of the elemental types as one elemental damage grouping. It is only here that it is an even split. So basically what this means is that if you are trying to go for an ideal main stat with an element damage, you have to get lucky and get the fairly equal chance of getting the elemental damage, and then also get lucky with it being the correct element after that. Another roll of the dice. Now, my luck was very wonky here in that I didn't get any ether or fire elemental damages. I for some reason got a lot of ice damage, despite not having Ellen Joe or Lycan. And of course, as is the case as always, all of these were on the complete wrong sets. Like I got ice damage on the fire set for some reason. So basically all of this is to say that those red tuning discs that let you select a main stat for one of your disk drives, you should absolutely be saving those for selecting an elemental damage type. Alright, but lastly though, we have slot 6. Again, it has the standard HP, attack, and defense percentages, but then it also has anomaly mastery, energy regen, and impact percent, so how fast you can stun or daze things. Now, this one is the most interesting one to me. It looks like the 3 common stats of HP, attack, and defense were all equal, but the other 3 of impact, anomaly mastery, and energy regen were very little in comparison. Now, this could of course just be a sample size error. However, if you were to theoretically group these 3 smaller main stats into one group, so as in like a group of 7 here, suddenly it looks maybe kind of like these main stats are equally distributed amongst themselves, kind of in the same way that the elemental damages are. So you have an equal chance of getting HP, attack, defense, or one of these groups. And then if it is one of these groups, maybe then there is another layer of RNG, you know, a split 1 in 3 chance for each of these. Again though, that is just my observation, not a guarantee, so take it with a grain of salt, but that is what it appears to be with these stats. But now that we have discussed main stats, let us talk about substats. For each of the S ranks, I recorded all of their substat rolls. Unfortunately, I didn't do this for the A ranks, but I think I should still have a decent sample size for this. Essentially what I did was I just counted up how many times each substat appeared when looking through all of my S ranks, and this is the graph we have over here. So here you can see it's almost like the game knows that I obviously wanted crit damage, so it does not give me crit damage substats. Meanwhile, the substats that appeared the most were the defense percent, so I mean, hey, that just means I have an excuse to build my Ben now. Otherwise, something that interested me is that it does seem like the more generic stats, so HP, attack, defense, both flat and percentage, are slightly more likely to appear on average than those real heavy hitting ones that you want, you know, crit rate, crit damage, and penetration. Which, I mean, to me, I kind of get that. I wouldn't be surprised if those more impactful substats are weighted lower, because when you think about it, the crit rate, crit damage, and penetration contribute so much more to your damage than, say, an attack increase or an attack percent increase, even maybe even the anomaly percentage, because of the fact that, you know, the crit damage and the penetrations, those are big multipliers as opposed to just adding more to your base attack that still has to go through other formulas. But again, that is just my speculation from what I have seen. Once again, take it with a grain of salt, but who knows, maybe this is actually true and maybe this is actually how things are weighted. Otherwise, there you have it. This is what you can expect to see if you were to farm nothing but disk drives from InterKnot levels 35 to 40. Hopefully this was informative. If you've been farming some disks, let me know if you found similar patterns, like slot 6 barely giving those other 3 stats, or crit substats barely appearing for you. And as always, liking, commenting, and subscribing is greatly appreciated. So until next time, bye bye!